God, a good afternoon. So, I'm sitting here thinking about my RomCom because I'm still trying to wrap my head around what the hell happened this morning. Hey, look, if it worked, I'm not complaining, but I took a massive risk doing what I did. But it was like I couldn't control myself, it had to be done. So I just have to have faith that it had the desired impact. But anyway, in Practical Magic, and even in Hello Again, there's scenes in the movies where they're quite intense. And Practical Magic, there's some quite dark bits in it. So I'm thinking, well, my rom-com needs to have some bits in it. So I've been trawling through a lot of cases that I've worked on in the past, and there's been just thousands and thousands of cases that I've worked on in the past, and so many investigations. And I used to have a lot of people come to me to ask my opinion about how their loved one died, because the coroner's reports would say one thing and there's conflicting evidence, or they felt like, the police didn't do a thorough investigation. And, when a coroner makes his decision and the death certificate's signed and everything like that, it's all a matter of public record. And so a lot of these families get hold of the transcripts and records, and, it's not enough for them to accept how their loved one died. So back in the day, this was like in the very early days of my blog, when I was still kind of trying to develop my skills. I had people come to me asking me for my opinion on things, and I've discussed this before. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, I don't want to manifest anything. Obviously, because of what happened this morning, I have to be very careful what I write, what I create, because I manifest it. And today is proof that, I only started writing that story 3-4 days ago, and stuff already in it happened this morning. Like, oh my God. So it's like I'm sitting here thinking I need to be careful with my dark bits. So I was thinking, what if I write in stuff that I've already worked on? So I'm sitting here going over some cases, and I started getting a visual of, one of the scenes in the movie, to sort of give you an idea of the life that she lives, the life that I live, even what it's like to be a time jumper. And I'm going to do a scene where she's walking through a meadow with someone, and they're talking away, and this person is like, running around the field, they're joking and laughing, and it's a relatively young person, teenager, and they walk across the field bit, and all of a sudden get hit by a train. Like, the train just comes out of nowhere, and when the train hits, like just as the train hits, she kind of jumps back and like sort of jolts, and all of a sudden she's in a town with the train tracks that she just saw, like disused, and everything, like a big town has grown up over the train tracks, and there's no longer a field. It's all like stores and like a road, and there's like the old train tracks that are covered in grass and like disused and stuff like that. Because that happened to me in New Zealand many years ago. The road that we were driving down wasn't the road that I was on. and it was just like a big grassy meadow. And then just as we were sort of coming round the corner to go across the train tracks, I saw this kid coming out of the field that we were driving down that wasn't a field, but it was a field, and got hit by the train. And then it actually turned out that it was about 2 or 3 days later, somebody got hit by the train. I can't remember the name of the place, but it was one of those little tiny villages in New Zealand just outside Palmerston North. It was one of those small towns further than Foxton, and that was like farming community. They had a pub and a couple of shops and all that sort of thing. But then, like it's a lot bigger now than what it was when that happened. It was a lot more rural. So I'm going to write that in to sort of give you an example of what it's like, because, like, yeah. So she's going to be walking through a meadow with this kid. This kid's going to be laughing and talking and, running about and that, and then all of a sudden just gets hit by a train, because that's apparently what happened. Is this kid wasn't paying attention, went across the tracks and boom. And yes, I'm going to write that in. And the other story I'm going to write in is because when people find out that she can resurrect the dead, they all want her. They all go to her. They go to this town and they go to her and they all want her to resurrect the dead for them, resurrect their dead. And so there'll be like all sorts of like silly cases and, funny ones and sad ones and blah, blah, blah. But there's going to be one where a woman's going to come to her and say, I need you to, like, could you please contact my niece, and then tell the story about how the niece was like a young girl who passed away from heart disease, and she wanted her parents to not be afraid when her time came, and so she asked for this quote unquote psychic medium lady to come and reassure her parents, like, come and be with her parents and that, so that so that they could see that she was going to go to heaven and blah, 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 and help them understand the journey that she was going on, bless her heart. I call her Katie, but her name in real life wasn't Katie. But she's the whole reason why I got into this whole, she is the entire reason why I became an occult scientist, so that people could come to me for the answers and not have to deal with what Katie's family went through. But yeah, basically what happened, I was contacted by this woman who said, my niece passed away. And, she asked this woman to come and help her parents. And 3 months before she died, this medium was there and she was so lovely and she was this, that and the other thing, and everything was great. And then, of course, Katie died. And I need to stress that's not her real name. And not long after she passed away, the psychic medium came to the parents all distressed and that, and said that Katie had come to her and that she was, she hadn't gone to heaven, she was trapped, she'd been taken by demons and blah, blah, blah. And because the parents freaked out, because of their faith, their religion and everything, they freaked out. They didn't know what to do, but this woman could help, but it was going to cost money. And then, of course, that didn't work. And then, she knew someone who could help, but it was going to cost even more money. And it got to the point where they were considering getting out a second mortgage. And that's when the woman who had been following me on my blog contacted me, and she said, is there anything you can do to talk to my family or to talk to Katie, to reassure them that she's not where, this woman, we'll just call her Maria. um, that she's not where this Maria said she was, and blah blah blah. She said because basically what had happened was the little girl's father was so distressed, the woman's brother was so distressed that he was thinking, well, like if I just took my own life, then I could go to, like poltergeist style, tie the rope around his waist and send her into the bloody closet sort of thing. Like it was like that, not even joking, pretty much. I can go and get her sort of thing. And it was just, this family had given this woman tens of thousands of dollars. They couldn't afford it, but she preyed on their religion, she preyed on their faith, and she took them for a lot of money. All I know is that this woman ended up going on the run, and that's all I know. I've heard of stories of like these women like that woman who was told to leave the money under the bridge, and all the money that he'd made from sin and all that, to leave it under the bridge. And so the woman took out all the money that the husband had left her and left it under a bridge, and then this woman stole it. And like I just not that woman, I'm just saying. So I spoke to the family. I emailed the family, and I told them everything, and like I got them laughing, and like we actually got to talk, and I relieved their fears. I alleviated their fears. Like they were able to relax, and that's when obviously the police got involved, and then all I knew at the end of it was that she'd gone on the run. That she was a con artist, and she'd gone on the run. And this was like way back in the early days of my blog, which I started in 2013. But I got my students in 2016. And I think this was even before I had my students, because it was the whole reason why I got into this field, so that I could debunk the liars and the fakes and the frauds, so that I could expose the fakes and the frauds, to help people like Katie's family and that understand what really happens when their children die, and how not to be taken advantage of. Don't be fooled by people that say you need to buy these crystal bracelets and this crystal this and this crystal that it does more harm than good. You can't just bring organic things into your home. So if they tell you you need to buy Palo Santo and all that sort of thing, even just on that kind of level, these people are doing more harm than good. But there are more fakes and fraud psychics, mediums, and clairvoyants out there than there are genuine ones. And so what I do is I became an occult scientist so that I could give you all the answers that you need when it comes to death and grieving and the afterlife and what happens when you die, and that, so that you can never be taken advantage of again by people like this Maria. And they usually have accomplices, and they'll set up entire online tarot reading businesses and things like that, and just scam people and rip people off. So my radio shows, especially my radio shows, and like the shows I'm going to do when I go out and do investigations, where I'm using my products and how I do what I do, I'll be able to show everyone how to deal with these sort of things, so they're not having to rely on psychics and mediums and clairvoyants and that are either frauds, or they feed disinformation. Whether they're in good intentioned or not, it's disinformation, and it's harmful. It's dangerous. There are genuinely, trust me, because I've spent decades studying this stuff, because it's my life. I grew up, like I always said, I grew up in a house like practical magic. So yeah, I mean, when I make my shows and all that, you can use my products. I can show you how to do everything. And then you're never ever going to fall victim to people like this Maria and all the others, and like Santaro and all of that. The ones that play on your emotions and feed on your emotions and feed on your grief. And there are people out there that will tell you whatever you need to hear if it's going to give them control over your spiritual development or your bank balance. And I can't stand that. I never, ever, ever. The one thing I can't handle more than anything in the world, like the one thing I can't handle more than anything in the world, my kryptonite, is watching a man cry. And when a man cries, you know he's hurt. And this, watching that man sitting there, so heartbroken and feeling so defeated, like he'd let his daughter down, that he was like contemplating taking his own life so that he could go and save his own daughter's soul, with his wife sitting there helpless, having already lost her baby, and that, like, it like catapulted me into needing to do something to help them. And they were fine, like by the time we ended the conversation, they were laughing and that, because the stuff that their daughter was saying, was she was teasing her father about his singing and teasing him about going on American Idol and all of that, and he was laughing, and they understood what she was saying. It wasn't like a massive long conversation from what I remember, but she said enough that it alleviated their fears. And so I'm thinking, I'll write that into the story, where the woman's going to come to me and say this, that, and the other, and then she'll say, because like in the movie she'll say, it's not like I can't, because she'll have someone say, like, can you bring my dog back, and can you bring my mum back, and my this, that, and the other back, and she's like, it's not like that. It's not like I can bring them up out of the grave and they're going to be alive again. Like, it doesn't work like that sort of thing. And then for this woman, for the auntie, she will help. And so I'll write that into the movie, where she'll say to the auntie, I have to wait for her to want to connect to me, so I don't know how long this is going to take. But if you give me your details and that, I'll be in touch as soon as I get a clear signal, sort of thing. And so she'll give Julie the number. And then, of course, not long after that, she'll start getting a connection with Katie, or the girl representing Katie. I might even just give her the name Katie. And yeah, and then she'll make the call and have the connection, and then there'll be obviously the emotional bit of it, and all of that. And then I need to do like a dark one, because there needs to be like a dark element to it. In Practical Magic, the dark element was the boyfriend, because he was abusive and controlling. I remember they accidentally killed him, and then they brought him back to life, and then he was even worse, because then he was like basically a possessed zombie. And yeah, then they buried him in the garden and had to hide it from the cops. And I love that movie so much. And then the village were okay with them being witches, because they ended up protecting the town. So so now I need to write a dark book, and I've got a lot of dark bits. But yeah, Katie is the whole reason I am what I am. Why I'm pushing to do my radio shows and pushing to do my TV shows and that, because if I can show people like Katie's parents the truth and what happens, and they can see evidence with their own eyes, and all that sort of stuff, then they can relax and go, okay, so I don't need a psychic or a medium. I just need to understand that this is how they're going to do it, or it's not really what I was told it was, and I can rest their hearts. alleviate their fears. They don't have to hire psychics and mediums and stuff. They can just come to me. They can ring up my radio show. They can call me in, because one of the things that I want to do, when I'm making my shows and investigating, areas and unexplained mysteries and all that sort of thing, is I do want to invite people when they know I'm in the area, and that invite them, have them invite me to come and investigate, or like with Katie's auntie, invite me, and say, can you help, or can you explain this, or that sort of thing, especially if it involves children. So if it's parents where the kids are experiencing anything paranormal in the home, um, like with that Chip Coffee Cups show, that was the whole reason why I bloomin' started my blog. Watching that Chip Coffee Cup go around with those kids explaining, everything wrong, it made me so angry. I was like, right. So I created my blog, Spirit and the Paranormal, because back then I didn't believe in God. I just, like I used to call it was spirit, the universe, the divine universe. So yeah, that because of Chip Coffee Cup, because I used to scream at the TV. It got to the point where my ex-husband used to say to me, "Turn it off." If I was on the TV, I'd be like, "Why?" And they say, "Because you're only going to yell at the TV, and I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to hear you rant." Because I just, yeah. So then I started my blog, and it ended up almost getting me killed. My blog, because of my gift, because it ended up being something I'd accidentally developed, something that had a lot of people interested in making sure I didn't speak too much or reveal too much or see too much. But it was too late. So everything I went through was, yeah, because of that blog. But it created the quantum menace, it created the foundation, it created everything that I want to build with the lawsuit money from them trying to kill me because of my blog. But blimmin' heck, I've experienced some things. I was just thinking about it today, because obviously I'm thinking like I need to write stuff into my movies, and if I can kind of use my own life and cases I've worked on and that, then um, it's easier for me to write when it comes from a personal place, and I just need to tweak it a little. And one of the things that I remembered when I was going through some of the things that have happened in my life, um, I remember when I was a teenager, I was only about 16, 15, 16, 16 maybe. So, yeah, about 16. Um, there was just me and my sister home. I think my niece and nephew might have been um, in their rooms, but there was just me and my sister home. And there was a knock at the door, and I could hear my sister talking at the door. I heard a man's voice. This was like about 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I came out to see who was at the door, and the man at the door sort of saw me standing there, and he just sort of said to my sister, "Oh, okay, thanks," and then walked off. And my sister, I was like, "Who is that?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know, some man looking for a place." He said he'd been looking for this address to dump some building materials off, and was having trouble finding the house. And my sister was saying to him, well, the house next door, they're building there. Maybe it's for them, but it's not this house. And then, of course, when I walked out, he sort of saw me and he goes, "Oh, okay, then thanks," and, drove off. Blimmermore turns out this man was a serial rapist, and he used to go around like the Belmont area of Perth, Belmont and sort of the Belmont area of Perth, Western Australia, where we lived, and he was a serial rapist. I can't remember if he had killed women, but I know that he was a serial rapist. And when when it was all on the news, and my sister was like, "Hey, I'm sure that's the man that was at the house." We started talking about it, and it turns out he'd been driving up and down the street all day, like all day. And it's like the police said he might have been like looking for a victim, or that he may have even like seen my sister and thought she could be a victim, and then thinking, oh, she's a single mum and all of that. Because, like, my brother might have been away, my brother in law might have been away truck driving, or he might have been away. And I don't think my parents had moved over yet. I'm pretty sure my parents hadn't moved over yet. I moved over to Australia to be with my sister and brother in law and that first, and then my parents followed. So I must have only been 15, because I moved over, I think, when I was 15, and then I had my 16th birthday when my parents are there. So I must have only been about 15. And yeah, and it turns out that he'd picked my sister as a target, and like he'd hurt a lot of women. He was a serial one. Like it was like a whole spate of them, and I can't remember what happened. I'm pretty sure he got caught, but yeah, it was like a whole thing. It was like, holy crap, like how close we came to something like that happening to my sister. If I hadn't have, and that's what my mum and dad had said, like if I hadn't have come out when I did, he could have like dragged her outside and, through the bushes and pushed his way inside, like anything like that. But obviously, because he saw two of us there, because I think all his victims were home by themselves or with their small children. So, man, I'm telling you, some of the things that have happened in my life, I have to make movies and that out of them. But as far as Katie's concerned, I'm going to write her into the movie, because she's the whole reason why I became an occult physicist. She's the whole reason I was able to um, develop quantum magnetics and all of that. She's the whole reason for my incessant insistence that I have a radio show and a TV show where I go out, and investigate things, and have talkback radio, like my radio show in Chicago. Like I'm going to keep pushing, even if even if I don't get any investment and I only do it from home. But I've got to get what I know out there to help families like Katie's families, because it goes on more than you will ever know. Even, with these frauds in there online and on the internet selling their readings, and these AI readings and all of that, it's all cold reading, it's all fraudulent, and I can't stand it. So if I can arm people with the knowledge to help themselves, or if they're not sure, give them the reassurance that they can come to me, then we will wipe out the psychic industry. We'll slice off a good chunk of the fraudulent community. And then what it does is, if I can remove it, if I can remove the decay, if I can burn it all down for you, so to speak, it purifies it, and then it means that it leaves all the genuine ones, all the good ones. But then all the good ones that I've been watching, I want to offer jobs anyway. I want to give them the opportunity to come and work with me. I'm going to have like a whole, like a mystic club, not like a cult or a coven or anything like that. It's just like it's a membership where you'll come and learn to enhance your skills and learn to investigate areas of paranormal activity and learn how to use my products and all of that, because I want to arm my soldiers. I'm going to have, you know how like how they used to have, the vampire slayers used to have like that bag they'd carry around that would have the garlic and the holy water and the crucifix and a Bible and all that sort of thing. I'm going to have like magic bags, you know, well, magic bags, you know, like but they're going to look like Mary Poppins knitting bag. But when you open it up, it's going to have my sprays and my clays and my candles and my incense and, you know, everything you need to deal with anything paranormal. You'll have it all there. And then if I can, I want to try and have it with the police department and paramedics and all of that, where they will keep a bag in their vehicles and that, so that if they ever come to murder scenes or crime scenes or accidents and that where there's been a death, they can use my spray in that to just kind of remove the heaviness and purify it and keep away the gorehounds and stuff like that, because people, I mean, it's it's part of our instincts as mammals to be curious about death and mortality, because it teaches us what to do and what not to do, how to survive longer. It's in us as mammals to want to know how to survive and live longer and that sort of thing. So, a lot of people like it. It's normal to have a fascination with morbidity and that, because then you know what to do and what not to do. Like it's just in you to like want to know what to do to stay alive and what not to do to die before your time. And so that's why a lot of people are fascinated with death. And that's fine, but some people take it to the extreme. And so if these cops and that can just use my spray or push some of my clay into the ground and that, then it will remove the heaviness. I've already tested some of my ritual products after the boys, those African boys, got stabbed at the back of my ex-husband's house. The forensics department you know, I went to the police and spoke to the forensics department, and they said after they had finished their investigation, I could put my ritual salts in that down, because there was blood everywhere, bits of coat, bits of one of the victims' coats, and because it was a, you know, feather lined coat, and there were feathers everywhere. There was blood all over like the thing and that. So yeah, they let me put my ritual salts in that down. So I'll sell all this sort of things, and I'll have like in my little bag for my members. You'll sign up to the membership. You'll be invited to come even to do training at the haunted house, and I'll have teachers there and everything. Will teach you how to do investigations and what to do, what products to use and when, you know, and they'll be given as part of their membership introduction, they'll be given one of these bags, and it'll be full of all the products they need. And then we'll do like online tutorials and that, where members from all over the world like will log in, and we'll do like live shows, but then live classes, sorry, to show you how to use the products and all that, answer any questions you may have, do like talk time, and then like I'll do with my radio show, it'll be like for members only, where they can like call in, write in whatever, type in whatever, and ask questions to me, and I'll be able to answer them as well. But they'll have their teachers there as well. And then of course, for the ones that come to stay at the haunted house, and that I'll take them on live investigations, and I'll be able to test them, like all the tests and that, the telepathy tests and all that I used to give my students back in the day. I'll be able to redo it all, you know, for the students. And I've already got my eye on a couple of tarot readers online that I would like to invite to come and work, make some money, you know, and they'll make good money too. And they deserve it, because they're good at what they do. And it's not fair that people like them are being drowned out by the loud ones and the fakes and the frauds. So I need spiritual warriors. My 144,000. I need to start gathering them now. I'm just hoping I get to do it in somewhere like Russia. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But, I need my soldiers. I need to arm my soldiers, and we'll have the membership club, and they'll get to do like really cool things and learn things that nobody else in our industry is ever going to be privileged enough to learn. Yeah, and we'll have we'll go out on buses for the ones that come to like live events and stuff. We'll go out on buses and do investigations, and like we'll meet up. We'll have big international ones where like we all have to, for the ones that get invited that can afford it, and that we'll all meet up in like Transylvania or like Edinburgh or Paris. Europe is just full of, I mean, there's like a gajillion in one place. That's where we could meet up to do these sort of things. But yeah, like the membership, it's like something for everyone membership. Well, something for everyone kind of membership, right down to the more expensive, sort of more elite, for the ones that show special abilities. But then I'll be able to watch over them. My voice is going because my throat's never recovered from when I was forced to swallow the poison. And if I talk for too long, it affects my throat. My voice will never ever recover from what was done. So anyway, I'm going to write that into the movie, and now I need to think of like a dark, sort of scary bit to have in the movie. But I'm thinking that might be coming from the German that Julia saves the king from. I might have him be, because I keep thinking of James Herbert's Sepulchre. So I'm thinking I might I might use the German to do some sort of Sepulchre Nazi conjuring of the devil sort of thing going on to try and target King Rupert after the failed attempt to get him to drink the belladonna, the poison. So, but if I can think of a real life event, but I keep thinking of Sepulchre. But if I can think of a real life event that kind of is in line with the whole Sepulchre thing, then I might try and weave the two together. But there needs to be like a dark bit, and I'm thinking it might be the German who targets Prince Rupert, like why he's after the bloodline and how far back it goes, and why he used belladonna in particular. And I mean, it doesn't have to be belladonna, but it was just what I could think on the top of my head. So yeah, so there we go. So now I've almost got that movie wrapped up, I think. Yeah, anyway, I shall go and speak to you later. Ka kite anō.